Cinema Classics is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.com.
The award-winning Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. Listen to the shows online at WCBE.org and like us on Facebook. And here is the award. This is the surrogate award. This is not really the award we want.
Picked up on Sunset Boulevard at a little store by my son. It says the world's greatest dad or something.
Yeah, Father of the Year, you.
We would want anybody to think that we won a legitimate award.
Well, it's interesting because he's anatomically correct from this side, but not this side.
That's because we have to look at it from this side.
Okay,
Anyway,
well, there it is.
There
Just
it
so
is.
you know that we have won an award.
All right,
It's
look
not
at
this. I think it was like a piece of paper, if I recall.
We had a call from Elizabeth Tulin in Boston. You remember she's the senior attorney at Boston Legal Services.
Yes, right.
And she wanted to know when we possibly have a distaff discussion.
Oh yeah, distaff, meaning female-oriented.
Yes.
It's a word I learned on this show.
And so recently I've been reading about the impact of women on the box office.
Okay.
And I thought that might be an interesting topic for us to explore.
Sure. I mean, we won't have anything intelligent to say about it, but we can explore it.
Listen to what I have to say.
Yeah. What do you have to say?
If you take...
Now, what you have to say come directly out of a New York Times article?
You know, I'll bet you could find
that's
one there
normally-
on March 29th. I'll bet you could. Anyway, if you look at Divergent, Shades of Grey, okay, and
Was that a box office success?
Cinderella,
Okay.
three big box office, over 60% of their audience was female. Not a surprise.
No.
It's just that if you look at the same time or over this last year, and you look at Jupiter Ascending, Hot Tub, Chappie, and Gunman, all male-centered, they're
Okay.
flops.
Yeah.
And so I'm making an inference, and I know that researchers are making
I'm
an
surprised
inference.
that Jupiter Ascending would be considered a male-centered movie.
Well, sure, it's
It's got Mila
action,
Kunis.
science fiction. It's got
Yeah, but it's made by the Wachowski siblings, one of whom is, they used to be the brothers, Wachowski brothers, but now one of them is a transgendered individual. So well, it's not a joke, I'm just,
No,
that's
I know.
curious to me because I'm sure it has some interesting sexual politics. Not that
the
it's-
point is they're hoping that males would show up, and they're not showing
Right.
up. They're becoming unreliable
Well, listen,
as far as audience.
We know that the female audience has been sorely underserved for, well, probably since the silent era, the 20s and 30s, when they actually did cater a lot of films toward a female audience. During the 40s and the 50s, the 60s. I mean, it became an increasingly male-centered medium. But I can see how these movies, though, they're finding a new audience. Women want to see movies,
Yeah.
right?
And
They always
males
have.
are easily distracted.
No.
Yeah, they are. They play games, video games. They'll do other things than go to the movies if they have a chance.
What were we
right?
talking about? Because I wasn't.
we're
paying
talking-
attention. I was distracted. by
Right.
it.
And we're talking about
I was distracted by John
female dominance
fishing a Ricola out of a cherry honey Ricola out of the.
at the box office.
Ricola.
And even teen girls are going to movies you might not have expected, like The Duff, which cost $8 million to make, has made them $35 million because
You really did your research.
young women are going together. They like the experience, the group experience. So there are things that are happening here that the marketers haven't quite figured, and producers haven't quite
You
figured.
know what? That doesn't surprise me that they haven't figured anything out because they're morons. Because here's what what always fascinates me is when an anomalous movie becomes a hit. You would think, right? I mean, given like when like Die Hard came out, right? It was such a huge hit that you began to see Die Hard on a this, Die Hard on a that, Die Hard on a bus, Die Hard in a submarine, right? When you see these anomalous movies, you think, oh, Hollywood's going to learn a lesson from this. Like, so when Inception, for instance, Christopher Nolan's movie came out, you thought, oh, maybe we're going to see an onslaught of really thoughtful kind of action movies.
Way back to Dark Knight.
But The Dark Knight, but they don't. Okay. They let Christopher Nolan make those movies, but they don't let anybody else make them. Now, I was going to say Twilight, but the Titanic,
Okay.
right? That was women, girls,
Yep.
women, of all ages, made that movie one of the most successful films of all time. Did we see an onslaught of female-centric productions after that, big budget productions? You would think that Hollywood would have said, wow,
Look at
there's
men.
a huge audience that has a lot of money and they'll see these movies over and over again. They don't.
Men have been reliable. Action films have been reliable. These serial presentations of the same film in different, like Furious, for instance, is surely a male-centered, male-oriented film. We're still making them. This summer we're going to have, or coming up this year, we're going to have Mad Max, Terminator, Ant-Man. They're
Right.
still counting on males to come
Avengers.
to that box office. Yet at the same time, right now, Helen Mirren is playing an 80-year-old in Woman in Gold, and Dakota Fanning is playing a 19-year-old in Effie Gray, and they're headlining, leading these. Notwithstanding the Marigold Hotel,
Right.
where you have a bunch of oldies, including two prominent women, and leading that. To me, you know what's determining this?
Yeah.
More than all of our talk about how great it is to have women in it, it's the box office that determines it.
Right, but here's the lesson that they should learn. They can spend less money on these movies and turn a bigger profit.
Yes.
Now, I don't know what Divergent films cost.
Well, they're over, most of these are $100 million films. But-
Cinderella.
And Cinderella's a great example of what the term is called narrow and deep, John. Did you ever hear that, as opposed to wide and shallow? Okay? You may have heard of it in other contexts.
Let me ask
But
this. Have you heard of that?
But
Wide and
Cinderella is narrow and deep. You got women, mothers, daughters going to see this
Oh,
film.
I see.
Okay?
Yeah, I get it.
And they're getting big returns on this
Yeah.
by focusing on underserved groups, as you were talking about with women, underserved.
Right.
And so they're finding out it actually works.
Yeah, they don't even have to be good.
No,
They just have to address an audience that exists.
And let's not, looking again at the male side, let's not forget, visuals have peaked. The visual sensation, the surprise at visuals on the screen,
Yeah.
I think, has reached its apex.
Of course, because they can do anything now.
Yes.
I mean, and how many times can you see the world destroyed, or cataclysms depicted in exceedingly realistic ways? I mean, it's tiresome. Which brings us back to Christopher Nolan again, very quickly. Somebody who operates on a different level. He's not interested in kind of using computer graphics to depict widespread, travesty. He operates on this, like, he wants to make these realistic films. I think it would be interesting if Christopher Nolan directed a female-centered.
Yeah, and he
movie.
very, very well might.
Which brings us to another point. We're lacking a lot of women directors of note.
All right, yeah, Catherine Bigelow is probably the last.
Everybody say,
prominent.
like, it's so cliche. that
Yeah,
you would say
sure
that,
it is.
right?
Yeah, but she's got two great films. So
At least two great. I
Yeah.
mean, Catherine Bigelow made movies actually she made Point Break in the 90s, which is like sort of an action classic.
Yeah.
Male-centered.
Yeah, but you have Hurt Locker, Zero Dark 30. She could die now and she'd be in the pantheon of great directors. But you're talking about having women consistently
Yeah, remember
directed.
there used to be Jane Campion. Whatever happened to Jane Campion?
Yeah.
Or Myra Nair. Now I'm showing my,
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, this summer,
Yeah.
although this year, in 2015, we have 30 superhero films coming out.
No, they're not
30.
30.
There are 30.
There are not
This is
30.
He says there are. But what this
There
summer.
are 30, maybe if you count all the superheroes up,
And,
they're 30.
and we mentioned currently Furious 7 and Avengers, so they'll be coming out for males. For females, we can look forward to Pitch Perfect 2.
Oh yeah,
Okay?
that's fun.
Spy, starring Melissa McCarthy. Okay,
Okay.
I'm not big on that. I'm not big on her,
Right?
but that's
Okay.
for women. And Pan, about Peter Pan.
Right, with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, in the kind of warp that this all is, Magic Mike.
Magic Mike, what is that?
That's the one with Channing
Oh,
Tatum.
this
as
male
a
stripper. Is
Right,
that the
yeah.
sequel? They're going to do a
Yeah,
sequel?
yeah,
to that?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that's not for us.
Yeah, right.
It's for females.
Sure.
So,
Clearly, the first one was a big success.
yes, so Elizabeth, thank you so much for the tip. The East Coast is now satisfied that we have directly hit on the new wave of American cinema.
Congratulations, John, on another scintillating program. I'm sure that we're going to have another one of these awards.
As soon as my son and I go for Father's Day,
Pick up
we can buy
another one at the 5 and dime.